Howdy folks and welcome. I hope this finds you well. Today I'll be talking about every mutant in the Stalker franchise so far, and maybe we'll get to some content at the end. If you haven't checked out my other Stalker lore video, The Zone Explained, I would highly recommend doing so since I'll be referencing a lot of things from that video that might sound a little bit crazy if you don't know the backstory. The Zone holds many secrets, so let's get started. We'll begin with the tiniest of mutants, the rodent. Rodents show up in every single game, but in Call of Pripyat, they become very annoying and can catch you off guard. And just like anomalies, mutants change over the different iterations of games. So rodents in Shadow of Chernobyl are a little bit different than in Clear Sky or in Call of Pripyat. And they're not the only mutant to do this. I'll try my best at distinguishing which mutant I'm talking about from which game. As for the rodent in Clear Sky, they don't really bother S.T.A.L.K.E.R when he's trying to flood the Agroprom underground. But as I was just saying in Call of Pripyat, I really got freaked out by these things, and they did some damage. The rodent is mobile, aggressive, and ravenous. Three things that I don't like hearing when I'm out in the zone. You'll probably hear these creatures before you see them, and they make this weird sound. They're hard to kill using a pump-action shotgun or a bolt-action rifle, so bring something more versatile. So Shadow of Chernobyl has this nifty little diary and encyclopedia that I'll be referencing a lot. So this is their description of the rodent. Quote, "Mutant rodents live mainly in basements of destroyed buildings, feeding on everything they can get their teeth in, from plants to careless stalkers. Occasionally, a pack of rodents will attack and kill large animals and mutants, tearing them apart before they can escape." Yeah, that's pretty gnarly, and for the tiniest mutant that we'll see today, this just shows how much the zone can modify what's in it. The next mutant on our list is known as Flesh. Who names these things? Flesh are mutated pigs, if you can believe that. And from the PDA in SOC, we get this quote, "Fleshes are one of the most vivid examples of the zone's disastrous perversion of nature." So side note, I don't know why they took out the encyclopedia and the diary from Clear Sky and Call of Pripyat. It was just really sad that they took away this amazing source of knowledge. And I get you can talk with other stalkers, and especially in Call of Pripyat, they do a fantastic job with talking with like Trapper, and we'll get to Trapper very soon because he has some really good explanations of the mutants that he hunts. But Clear Sky, it's like, if you just played Clear Sky, you would have no idea about the zone or what you're interacting with. Anyways, like other mutants, Flesh have developed certain defenses while in the zone. For example, Flesh have this protective layer consisting of scales and bones. So these are not your pigs from northern Vermont. Another mutation that the Flesh has is their legs. They've become more insect-like, which helps them pivot in the ground and attack prey. But the major radioactive metamorphosis in the Flesh is their eye. From a side quest in SOC called Bring the Eye of a Flesh, the quote reads, "The eyes of the creature, Flesh, are equipped with olfactory receptors. Thus they can not only see with their eyes, but smell with them as well." See, I find that nifty and great lore building for such an obscure mutant and creature. Flesh like to travel in packs, and you can get away with just running past them usually. Sometimes they'll charge you trying to act tough, but nothing a shotgun won't save you from. Also, if you travel to certain stalker encampments, you might find a Flesh getting roasted on the Barbie or the barbecue. I don't know why I said Barbie. I found this really interesting because on the wiki it states that the Flesh or the mutated pigs still taste like pork. So I'm guessing that stalkers just go, all right, the scales, the bones on the exterior, fine, we'll just cut that out. It's on the interior that counts. Would you eat radiated pig? Let me know in the comments. Honestly, it seems that they inhabit the whole entire zone in a sort of peaceful manner. What isn't peaceful is their territorial disputes with our next mutant, the blind dog. Look, as an avid dog owner, I find it very disturbing in games when you have to attack said dogs, even if they are mutated and want to hurt you. In the trilogy, they use this whimpering sound, which sounds so sad, and I don't even know if I'm going to edit it into the video, that it pulls at your heartstrings. The dogs will pull at your heartstrings because they come back and attack you, and this is just a diversion tactic. Now, dogs have roamed the exclusion zone since the '86 disaster, the normal one. It's really interesting that the PDA describes the blind dogs as like a superior species in the zone, and that normal dogs have sort of died out. The encyclopedia notes that, quote, rapid mutation led to a vast improvement in previously peripheral abilities at the expense of the primary ones. As a result, the common dog quickly became extinct in the zone, giving way to a new breed, that of blind dogs. I find that really interesting because it means blind dogs survive more in the zone than ones that could see. Which is also odd because I had 2 eyes and I still die to anomalies left and right. I don't know how the blind dogs do it. But the blind dogs are far from the apex predator. Up next on our list is the boar. These powerful creatures have the innate ability to mess up any stalker's day that is not properly prepared for them. They also have some fantastic set pieces dedicated to their blind fury. Think of when you meet Duty for the first time in SOC, and when you get to the Stingray, I think it's 2, and they run through the mines. I mean, that's like an iconic set piece. I love that. There's not too much to say lore-wise about the boars. I mean, they very much resemble actual reports of real-life boars, like in real life, devoid of Stalker, roaming the exclusion zone and being hostile towards humans, since they don't live with humans. All right, those were the normal mutants. Now we dive a little bit deeper into the iceberg of the weird and messed up. And for someone that just screamed, what about the crows? Well, you're right. What about the crows? Crows have a PDA encyclopedia entry in SOC, and it brings up a lot of questions. How come crows have the ability to detect anomalies and stay away from radiation better than humans? The PDA actually throws shade on the military operation in Call of Pripyat, going, while the army pilots need to rely on a complex detector to avoid gravitation disturbances, the crow rely on its own sense. A mystery that drives ornithologists and biologists mad. Looks like Lebedev should have invested in crow research instead of whatever he was doing in the swamps. Anyways, the crows are the last normal mutant, and now we get into the good stuff. Let's start with the pseudo-dog, which is not actually a dog. In the SOC PDA description, it describes the pseudo-dog as a wolf, so let's get that straight. Pseudo-dogs are very territorial and will attack other mutants like that. And if they have the numbers, they'll go after some higher prey like snorks or even bloodsuckers, if they have the numbers. One thing that I absolutely love about the pseudo-dog is the ability to tame them. Now, I think you might have to be missing some of your brain to try to attempt to tame a pseudo-dog, but one person did, and he's in Call of Pripyat.
Go to hell, freaking muties!
During your initial journeys in COP, you'll come across Noah and his arc. Noah's kind of crazy, but he does have Lassie, a pseudo-dog that is loyal to him. If you did a certain quest line and finish the game, you'll have this nice little Bethesda-esque like ending where it shows Lassie and her 2 pups saving stalkers and defending Noah's Ark while mutants attacked it during a large mission. So it does tell me that pseudo-dogs do have the capacity to be tamed, but Lassie might just be one out of a million. And if you're asking what an emission is, please check out my zone video. Now, pseudo-dogs are related to our next mutant, the Psy-Dog. Quickly, if you don't know about Psy-Fields and Stalker, they melt people's minds. Also, the Soviets were trying to breed animals that could affect Psy-Fields or cast them. Almost always, the Psy-Dog will be outside or on the exterior of a fight, casting projections or illusions, not only confusing stalkers of how many dogs there are attacking him, but to evade bullets. I did try to find the origin of the Psy-Dog, but to no avail. I know that Lab X18 and 16 were both working on experiments, especially with animals and their psi fields. Plus, X16 has the huge psi brain, so we know the Soviet scientists were trying something here. If you would like to put your hypothesis where Psy-Dogs come from, let me know in the comments below. Another mutant that we have no idea where it came from, only theories, is the Poltergeist. The Poltergeist is one of those mutants that changes between each iteration of the game for no explicable reason. This kind of confused me, especially playing through each game for the retrospectives and back in the day too. You'll first meet Poltergeist in Lab X18 in Shadows of Chernobyl, and they have telekinetic powers and throw stuff at you. If you shoot the electric ball, there is a corpse or there is a body. In Clear Sky, there's not, and in Call of Pripyat, there's not a body when you kill one. So I don't know where the bodies are going or if the bodies are illusion. It's one of those, I don't know if it's a retcon or not. The Poltergeist also has a counterpart, the Pyrogeist, which you encounter in X18 as well. You might have guessed, but it spews pillars of flame. It's kind of cool looking. But no one knows where the Poltergeist is from, how it was formed, or why a lot of them just tend to be in the secret labs or underground. Another mutant that uses pretty cool techniques in order to hunt its prey is the bloodsucker. Probably the most iconic mutant in the Stalker franchise, and the one that freaks me out the most.
Shh! It's full of sleeping bloodsuckers. Let's try to get by them without making any noise.
I like to think of bloodsuckers as Cthulhu's radioactive cousin. They can go invisible on a whim, and they can suck out your blood, like a vampire. The PDA description even states that, quote, "The lucky few who survived an encounter tell spine-chilling tales of marshes and subterranean areas haunted by the zone's version of Count Dracula." See, they're going with the vampire thing too. One of my favorite quests in all of the games is the bloodsucker lair in Call of Pripyat. You are investigating reports of bloodsuckers attacking stalkers, but no one knows where their lair is until you discover the area with another stalker. And oh boy, let me tell you, this is probably one of the most tense scenes in my gaming life. I highly recommend playing through Call of Pripyat for these moments, and it's not the only one. Just don't forget to do the second part of the quest, which I unfortunately did through my retrospective playthrough, and I got lambasted at the end.
Unfortunately, it didn't last long. Bloodsuckers from the lair near the Skadovsk found the way to the ship. When bloodsucker attacks began to occur, even in broad daylight, it was decided to mount an assault on the lair. Unfortunately, the hunters failed to advance deep into the tunnels, and soon afterwards, a wave of bloodsuckers annihilated all the ship's residents in one fell swoop.
Sorry guys on the ship. Another mutant that has a decent quest in COP is the Chimera, and it's next on our list. The Chimera is like a mix of a lion's body with like two vicious dog heads. It's the best way I could describe it. You get a quest to hunt a Chimera at night, which is probably a good thing, since you don't want to see this creature jumping or leaping 20 feet at a time. It's scary.
Careful. We gotta be real quiet. We can't let it hear us.
Even though it seems Chimera are few and far between, they are the physical apex predator of the zone. Another mutant that likes to jump around is the Snork, and oh boy, do these things freak me out. From Gonta's description, a fellow hunter you'll meet in Call of Pripyat, he states Snorks are remnants of humans, and the SOC PDA description goes on further, stating, "It seems these creatures were human at some point, though it is difficult to imagine what conditions could turn a human being into such a disgusting beast." The Snork's eyesight is obfuscated by the gas mask fused to its face, and they use their strong smelling abilities to not only track down prey, but to set up ambushes as well.
Disgusting!
And it doesn't matter what environment you are in. The Snork is going to jump at you, and is going to try to kick you, and eat you, and rip your flesh apart. I've been jumped by Snorks in laboratories. I've been jumped by Snorks in the Red Forest. I've been jumped by Snorks in Pripyat. No matter where you are, they're jumping, and they're going to try to get you. Going back to the old internet, I didn't even know this thing existed. Not the old internet, the old Stalker wiki. I went to the Stalker wiki to see if I could garner any information that wasn't readily available on other sources. And I'm really glad I did, and take this information with a grain of salt because it's from so long ago. The wiki states Snorks are, quote, anatomic similarity with human organism comprises 90 to 95%. Snork's hair disappeared as a result of radiation exposure and living in the wilderness. The first sighting of Snorks happened on the 22nd of May, 2007. A couple of months, almost a year, past the first incident with the noosphere. So I surmise that the Snorks are not from the 86 disaster, the normal one, but from Sea Conscious and all the experiments from previous to 2006, and then the noosphere debacle. Another experiment gone wrong is the Burr. This is a weird word for me. This guy is a mutated human and packs a punch. Now, burrs can only be found in Call of Pripyat. They actually were taken out of SOC and Clear Sky before launch. I first found them in Lab X8 in COP, but apparently there is a quest out in Jupiter for unidentified mutants, and you can actually find them earlier on in the game. They have a lot of tricks up their blackened sleeves. They also have telekinetic powers. If you meet one, there's probably a heavy object getting thrown your way. They have a shockwave which deals major damage, but probably the most annoying spell they have is weapon pull. Yeah, it sounds just like what it is. They pull your weapon away from you. You're in a laboratory, fully encumbered, and you can't walk more than 10 feet without having to drop some item. Yeah, pull weapon becomes your worst nightmare. Now, one of the cool little things that I found is that if you notice on the right foot of the mutant, it looks like it has broken through the shoe. This kind of tells me that the person they experimented on was wearing these shoes during their accelerated growth. Another little sneaky thing they can do is mimic voices. In Lab X8, You might come across a bathroom stall that has the sound of a child crying. Turns out it's a trap set by one of these little monstrous things. It's kind of cool because that means that they are sentient. They understand how to set up a trap, that you're there. Like, also the weird crying is like, how do they have reference for that? How do they know about that? They must have heard that and try to mimic it and know that stalkers will go to it. So more questions than answers there. Overall, they are much smarter than our next mutant on the list, the zombified stalker.
Looks like a quiet village. Unless we disturb the local residents. So peaceful. It's like a resort.
So, zombified stalkers come from psi fields, so pretty much melting your brain. This happens in 2 locations in SOC. The Yantar with Lab X16 having this gigantic brain slowly melting away, or its cooling rods melting. And then you have the Brain Scorcher, very aptly named, that also melts people's minds with a psi field. No matter what faction you are, these things will melt your brain and turn you into a zombified stalker. The Brain Scorcher does not care about what faction you are in, but I do for the next video. Anyways, zombified stalkers have some very sad voice lines, especially in the Russian translation of SOC. It immediately makes me think of Half-Life zombies, and you can hear like, "Oh God," or like, "Help me." Yeah, it's like the same thing. Even though the English version in SOC, I feel like they just say macro data. And again, mostly they're an annoyance rather than something that you have to readily deal with. One thing that is not so easy to deal with is our next mutant, the pseudo giant.
A big attack is no longer enough.
Trapper in Call of Pripyat has a lot of great descriptions of certain mutants, and the pseudo giant is one of them. Quote, "The most difficult thing about hunting pseudo giants is killing them. They can take an incredible punishment without so much as batting an eyelid." Yeah, I truly hate these with a passion, and they show up in every single game, and they'll show up in the new one as well. They also get more difficult to kill each game, which please just, oh god. First one you'll come across is in SOC during your time in X18. It's the thing banging on the door. Honestly, it wasn't too much of a fuss to kill it in SOC, it more freaked me out. That wasn't the case in Clear Sky, where this thing took so many bullets. I honestly thought I would have to load a save 30 minutes before and stock up on things. Pseudo giants are also described as human-like, but we don't know their true origin. One theory that I read that I really liked is that they're a conglomerate of humans fused or melded together, sort of like Sea Conscious has their minds fused together. Regardless, the pseudo giant is nothing to mess around with, and I had to laugh at the wiki saying, oh yeah, just shoot an RPG at it. I think in my time playing through all the games, I found one working rocket launcher and like a couple of missiles. Maybe I was the one just being blind, but let me know if you had more luck. And that brings us to our last official mutant, the Controller. Again, I'm going to lead with a Trapper description because it feels more organic coming from a hunter himself. Quote, "They use your mind against you. When you're hunting a Controller, it's important to use cover because it must see you to affect your mind." Yeah, controllers are psi experiments gone amok. And if you get too close to one, they will make you do permanent damage to yourself. Not only can controllers manipulate human minds, They can also send psi bolts at people. They also give off the psi field indicators like auditory hallucinations and blurred vision. Regardless if you're the tiniest mutant or a humanoid that has psychic abilities, the mutants in the zone are nothing to be trifled with. I am so excited and so scared to meet all of these mutants in the new generation of graphics, and probably see some new ones as well. If I missed anything important that you want to share, let us know in the comments below. I would love to have that conversation. I did say that we might talk about cut content, yet I think it deserves its own video since it gets pretty wild and crazy. I mean, did you know there was an underground war between the Cloaks and blind dogs? No, neither did I, and it comes from a random, probably pre-alpha document, but it might be interesting to check out. Anyways, I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch my content. If you enjoyed this video, check out my other lore video on Stalker or the Retrospectives. And if you really enjoy those videos, check out my channel. There's something there for everyone. I make sure of it. And as always, I'll see you stalkers next time.